Everyone knows that China is a manufacturer of a million different products, and most of the stuff you see when you go into department stores, it's probably made in China. That is because they have massive manufacturing facilities and lots of people who will work for very little money. That's business. But despite the millions of products China produces, there are some things that are really bizarre, and there's a chance that there's one of these things you would refuse to even buy. Or on the other hand, asking, where can I get some of that? With that said, check out these 5 products that only exist in China. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Canned air. You might be thinking you already caught us tripping up. Oh, we have compressed air here too to clean out electronic devices such as our desktops or laptop computers. Yeah, I hear you, but that isn't what this topic is about at all. With all that industry going on in China, there's also a big air pollution problem, and recently the Chinese Environmental Ministry says that the country has 9 million sources of pollution. The biggest problem is that there are factories dumping pollutants into the air without any regard for rules or emission standards. In fact, pollution has increased 50% since 2010, and some major cities even limit the amount of cars that can be on the road. What's all that got to do with canned air? Well, what started out as a joke by a Canadian company in 2015 actually turned into a thing. The Canadian company, called Vitality Air, bottled air from the Rocky Mountains. What the company didn't know, however, was that their product would end up flying off the shelves. But the cans of fresh Rocky Mountain air weren't being bought by Canadians or even Americans, but by people in China who wanted to know what it was like to breathe in a nice whiff of fresh mountain air. It's not known what the company was trying to do in the first place besides create some sort of novelty joke, and they had a first shipment of 500 bottles of fresh air, which were sold in just 4 days. The founder of the company had more manufactured, and a crate of 4,000 bottles ended up making its way to China, and most of those were already sold. The can of crisp mountain air is taken from Banff National Park in the Rocky Mountains. The price of each can of air is about 100 yuan, which is about $13.25 in US dollars. The majority of the company's customers live in big cities where there are constant severe warnings of smog and pollution. It's so bad that most people wear masks or respirators. But Canada isn't the only place to get into the fresh canned air game. A New Zealand company started to sell their own 7.7-liter cans of fresh New Zealand air for $44 per bottle to smog-hit China. The bottle comes with its own breathing mask, which you simply put over your mouth, press the spray button, and breathe in. And in case you were curious, each 7.7-liter bottle has 180 breaths of fresh air. Number 4. Panda Tea. If you were looking for the world's most bizarre and expensive tea, then this is likely the one, unless someone out there knows of a stranger brew. China's known for having a lot of strange herbal medicines and teas, but it's likely that nothing can compare with this, and we'll try to make the explanation for this tea as pleasant as possible. By now, you're probably wondering why this tea's called Panda Tea. Well, it's not made of ground-up pandas, or even some leaf or herb that's named after the black and white fluffy creature. The leaves in the tea are cultivated with panda dung. You heard that right. But you haven't heard the worst part of it. A Chinese entrepreneur by the name of An Yanxi, who was the inventor of the tea, claims that the tea has all kinds of health benefits, and that drinkers of the tea can expect a mature and nutty taste. Excuse me for a minute. Buy Panda Tea online. Okay, I'll save that for later. The taste comes from the fact that the bears have a poor digestive system which absorbs less than 30% of the bamboo they eat. Mr. Yanxi, who is a former calligraphy teacher, purchases around 10 to 11 tons of the panda droppings from a panda breeding center, which he then uses to fertilize his crop of special green tea. Some of the claimed health benefits of the tea is that it has some cancer-fighting agents and is packed with nutrients from the panda's excrement, which is also rich in fiber. See, all that sounds great to me, but I love cancer, so I'll close that tab, okay. Remember, we said claimed health benefits. Some critics in China say that the claims are absurd and that there's no proof that the tea has any more benefits than your normal green tea. And the price? Well, if you were to buy some of the tea, it would cost you $36,000 for a pound. That makes it one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive tea in the world. A little math here and there, and that adds up to be around $190 for 1 cup of tea. The novel idea that panda dung is used to cultivate it may be the main reason the creator's selling the tea for so much money, but the other reason could be that he also hopes the tea will make it into the Guinness World Records as the most expensive tea in the world. Would you drink a cup of this tea if it were offered? We want to know, so tell us in the comments. Number 3. Obama Fried Chicken. Everyone's familiar with the fast food restaurant Kentucky Fried Chicken, or as it's more modernly known, KFC, the much shorter and more hip name. However, in China, there exists what can easily be called a parody of the KFC image and signage, which is called OFC, and has a character that looks a whole lot like former US President Barack Obama. If not, one could argue that it looks suspiciously like the KFC logo and shows the president dressed as Colonel Sanders in a bow tie and suspenders. And something fun about the sign is that there's a Chinese slogan written on the bottom right that when translated says, "We're so cool, aren't we?" It's not known exactly how or why this fast food place exists in China, but it does. One rumor is that it's because the United States imposed some tariffs on American chicken exports. And while this might seem like a one-off joke, it isn't the first time that Obama and his likeness has been used to sell fried chicken. According to a story, back in 2011, a KFC in Hong Kong ran a commercial in which someone that looked like Obama was crushed by a giant chicken sandwich right in the middle of giving a speech. Although the ad was meant to be funny and a spoof, as the KFC person said, the ad was quickly pulled off the air. And for the record, there are some fried chicken restaurants in the USA that use the Obama name to sell their chicken. However, it isn't known if the restaurants are actually named after the former president or if the owners of these places share the same name. My bet's on the former. Number 2. Live animal key rings. You might think that key rings are the most useless item you carry in your pocket, while others might think that key rings are useful and help you from losing your keys. Well, that seems to be the main idea behind key rings anyway, but when it comes to China, they might have what is considered the cruelest key ring on the earth. It's not known why this country comes up with the ideas that they do, but their culture is a lot different than other cultures with complete lack of empathy and compassion for living creatures, it would seem. We're talking about the live animal key ring. The idea possibly sprang up from plastic key rings that had dead scorpions, spiders, beetles, or other creatures encased inside them. No one knows if these items are using live insects or not, but the live animal key ring absolutely uses live animals enclosed inside a tomb of heavy plastic. Usually, small turtles or lizards are encased inside of these plastic keyring pouches that are filled with colored water, and a bunch of Chinese street vendors happily sell them without conscience. And while you might think that this is something that people wouldn't buy, you might also be surprised to learn they're very popular. Aside from this horrifying fact, they're also completely legal, as there are very few animal rights or laws in the country of China. Interestingly enough, there seems to be 2 different types of people who buy these cruel key rings. There are those who think they're really cool and have no empathy for the creature sentenced to die inside the sealed package, and those who buy the key ring to open them up and set the animal free. For the seller, this probably seems like a win-win situation. The price of the key rings is about $3 to $4 US, or 15 to 20 yuan. Inside of the packages, the baby terrapin turtles, fish, and salamanders are sealed inside the colored oxygenated water with a single food pellet, which, according to the sales sign, feeds the animal for 3 months. However, it's likely that these poor animals suffer and die within days due to the fact that the keyring is sealed and oxygen would run out quickly. What do you think about this? Let us know in the comments. Number 1. Scorpion Kebab. There's a saying that goes something like, the Chinese will eat anything that has 4 legs and isn't a table. And while that seems a little harsh, there's actually some truth to that statement, and that statement should be restricted to 4 legs or legs at all. Anything can end up on the menu. Starfish, seahorses, dogs, snakes, and even scorpions. In Beijing, there are many food stalls where you'll be able to find almost anything. But it's the deep-fried scorpions that probably gets the most attention from people, especially tourists. And for many people visiting the country, it's one of those things that you must do to show that you're one of the off-the-beaten-path crowd people. The scorpions are not already cooked. In fact, to show that someone's a connoisseur of this popular street food, the scorpions are impaled alive on the stick. This means that when someone orders a scorpion, the vendor shows the creature is still alive, tail wagging around, and pincers trying to grab a hold of anything before going into the deep fryer alive to prove that it's fresh. The scorpion is then deep fried for a few minutes before being served. The taste of them is actually said to be pretty good, and most that end up being brave and eating one say that it's edible with a crunchy and nutty taste. Some have compared the deep-fried scorpion to being like an over-baked potato chip, or crisp as some call them. The other types of creatures that are impaled on kebab sticks waiting to be deep-fried are seahorses and starfish. You can get a scorpion kebab for just about $3 or 20 yuan that has 4 baby scorpions deep-fried on the stick. So if you're ever in Beijing and on Wangfujing Street in the food district, try out the scorpion kebab. It's rumored that the locals love to see tourists eating their food and are known to speak just enough English to ask how you liked it, and snap a few photographs of your experience. Hope you enjoyed the video, Top 5ers. If you haven't already, check out our other channel, Americano, to enjoy even more amazing list videos. There'll be a link in the description, so check it out, as well as our other cool stuff